Previously, in Lore of Minecraft, we have seen how the world we live in came into being. But how did this world become how we know it today? We have seen how, over the course of 20 years, Minecraft was created, but the world when we left off was almost unrecognisable compared to modern Minecraft. This time in Lore of Minecraft, we will look at the century of change, the mid-classic era to the late alpha era, but be warned, it won't be a smooth ride. The year was 20 after Java. It was an unstable period. The first mobs had begun appearing and players were forced to travel to settlements such as Icaria for protection. They were no longer immortal as they were in early Classic, and could now be killed by falling, drowning, or falling into lava. There was one interesting development at this time. Pigs were created by Notch, leading to a new class of mobs, passive. Let's take a look at the evolutionary tree so far. Mobologists sort life forms into the categories of plant, fungi, and mob. Mobs can be further divided into hostile, passive, and sentient. Pigs were the first member of the passive class. We'll come back to this diagram later. It took until 22 AJ for hostile mobs to develop enough to attack and kill players. With no means of defending themselves, players were killed in their hundreds. But players were soon facing a new threat, one that terrifies us all to this day, the dreaded Creeper. The origin of the Creeper can be traced back to a group of pigs that mutated during spawning. Although harmless at first, Notch saw potential in them, for some unknown reason, for now at least. All creepers were fused with sulphur and were brainwashed to suicide attack players. This difficult time only got worse in 33, with the creation of spiders, yet another hostile mob. Later that year, some pigs evolved and grew wool, becoming sheep. A breakthrough came in 44 when players discovered the first step towards fire mastery. By combining a wooden stick with a lump of coal, they managed to make a torch which gave out light. At this time there was no day or night, so its only real use was to light up caves. This made it much easier for players to mine ores. This breakthrough marked the beginning of the Indev era. Four years after torches, and another important fire tool was invented, the flint and steel. Due to the oxygen-rich atmosphere back then, fires could engulf entire forests if a new tool was used wrongly. In the year 50, the bow was used by humans for the first time to replace the aging method of throwing dart-like arrows. They also invented the chest, so that they could store items. At this time, it was a common practice to create a mossy cobblestone house containing a wide variety of blocks when starting an expedition, although this only lasted a few years, after which the houses became wooden and the old style vanished. Minecrafters began using the earliest crafting recipes in around 51, with the invention of the crafting table, or the workbench as it was then known, coming soon after. Crafting opened up many possibilities such as tools for mining and weapons, including the sword, which finally gave people the chance to survive the mobs for longer periods of time. We know that in the Indev era there were gold, coal and iron ores. What about diamond? Experts have performed carbon dating, which has given us an estimate of around 51 or 52 AJ. How or why it appeared is unknown, but it seems to have been pushed up from the core of the earth. As one of the strongest materials known, its use in crafting became highly valued very quickly. Indev saw several other inventions, amongst them farming. The hoe was developed around 52 and was used to grow primitive wheat crops, which could be made into bread. Not only that, but hostile mobs would no longer appear in lit areas, which made the surface world safe due to the endless daytime. Unfortunately, Notch began the day-night cycle by creating the sun-moon. Minecraft here was now rotating, and half the time the sun was below the horizon, creating night when mobs could spawn. In 54, armour was invented, followed by the furnace in 55. With cooking and smelting now becoming part of life, the Indev world seems much more familiar to modern Minecraft. The painting was another invention of the late Indev era. Then, in the year 57, something astonishing happened. Notch used a massive amount of his powers to expand the world indefinitely. Before, Minecraft.jar was limited to only a few killer blocks, whereas now it stretched seemingly forever in every direction. The infinite world marked the start of the Infdev era. Infdev is known as the Quiet Era. There are very little changes in both nature and human technology. There are only a few events worth mentioning, most of these taking place later on in Infdev. In 82, humans created the first advanced technology, these being doors, signs and ladders, followed by minecarts in 84. The minecart was the first in the series of inventions indirectly caused by Notch, one of the sacred Secret Friday updates mentioned in the Holy Tome of Life. The year is 85. A young explorer has been sponsored by Notch to explore an underground cave. After a while, he comes across something odd. It looks like cobblestone, but it seems to have some sort of moss on it. Then, through a gap in the strange rock, he notices a strange object, some sort of device that summons spiders. The adventurer had discovered the first ever dungeon, but what are they exactly? The accepted theory is that the Indev mossy cobble houses became buried, along with some of their loot. However, the origin of the actual mob spawner remains unknown. Known to many older citizens of Minecraftia as the Glorious Era, Alpha was a phase in history known for its advances in both nature and technology, the population boom of Minecraftians, and many famous events. In its first year alone, humans invented stair blocks. 87 was the year of another Friday update, after Notch helped natural forces to create a substance known as Redstone, which began forming as ore near the lava level. Once it was discovered, its amazing properties soon followed and led to a new age of technology. Redstone torches, levers, buttons, pressure plates and iron doors were quickly developed in the aftermath of Redstone. Talented individuals could now create complicated circuits utilising dust and other components. In 90 the boat was invented, and also a period of great evolutionary change began, starting with the evolution of cacti, cows and reeds in 91 and chickens in 93. With reeds came paper and books, and clay first appeared in this year, leading to bricks. Also in 93 was the invention of the jukebox. Many of these changes were part of Friday updates. 110 was one of the most famous years in history. It saw not only the invention of the clock, a relatively minor event, but the earliest known Nether portal. The Nether will be featured in another episode, but it is significant in this one regardless, with its strange new substances such as netherrack and glowstone, and the mobs that lived there, the ghasts and zombie pigmen, had never held much appeal for adventurers. The other main event of the year was massive climate change that created biomes, ranging from desert to forest and tundra, and even led to the evolution of pumpkins. Throughout this episode of Lore of Minecraft, we have seen how humans and nature both made massive leaps in the century of change. Next time, Lore of Minecraft is heading to beta.